Hi everyone, and welcome back to our video series looking at Transformers movies. And today we're going to be talking about critical race theory and Age of Extinction, the fourth Transformers film. My name is Greg, and with
Tommy's
me
here
is
too.
yes,
Tommy.
welcome back, Tommy. Yeah, I think we're just going to jump right into it. Essentially, we're going to sort of be defining two different areas of critical race theory and how we can use it to sort of look at these movies, how we can look at some of the previous movies, and then also how we can look at the current film, Transformers 4 Age of Extinction. So, one of our main questions we're going to be asking today is what does Bayformers have to say about race by using metal bodies? By not really using human bodies, using fictional bodies. And first, we have to define critical race theory. Tommy, would you like to read the first paragraph?
Oh yes, critical race theory is a cross-disciplinary explanation by social and civil rights scholars and activists of how laws, social and political movements, and media shape and are shaped by social occupations of race and ethnicity.
Yeah, and
So,
yeah, go ahead.
but don't tell Florida about that one though,
Yeah,
or
what's
literally
happening?
any other.
No,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna ban this video in Florida so they can't get mad.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, like this explanation was sort of new to me. I think it was honestly last year when I first designed these slides, because I didn't know this was the specific definition. I thought it was more of this. Do you want to read the second one? Try to fill in the blank.
All right. Ask us to. Okay. Critical race theory asks us why are uh,
What do you think? Keep reading.
oh god, why are white people the most common race of people to see in mainstream movies?
Yes, I thought that was more of the main idea behind critical race theory, but it actually does have some real world application outside of media and lit studies. So that was interesting to learn. And then some critical questions. Do stories about characters of color always have to be about race, their race? Can stories with only non characters of color be about race? And should we consider how race affects non characters of color, even in stories with only white characters, for example, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and most of Age of Extinction? Any comments so far, Tommy?
I Nope.
All right,
Let's just
let's
get to
keep
it.
going then. So first we're going to look at coding in media, and then later we're going to look at um, sort of race politics through like political metaphor allegory, and that's going to be more pertaining to Age of Extinction. And then, but we're going to look at the first three movies in this lens of coding because I think that's more of where the first three movies um, involve like a race angle, I guess to say. So to define racial coding, Tommy, do you want to read the first two paragraphs there?
All right. Lifts elements from the real world to provide a shorthand message based on the presented worldview of an audience, which is said by Lindsay Ellis. And the second quote is the aliens in Avatar being coded as indigenous Native Americans is shortened for them being more pure and in touch with nature, which is also Lindsay Ellis' quote.
Yeah, these are all Lindsay Ellis quotes. I'm mostly pulling from her Bright video. Um, and then she also wants to make it clear that like coding is one of those terms that has become politicized and is often read as negative when in fact it is a neutral term in academia. It describes a sociological phenomenon. Coding is a neutral term. And I'm curious when she recognizes like how it's been politicized, I definitely see that. I'm wondering like which side of the political spectrum is politicizing it more. I feel like both sides probably politicize it in different ways, which is kind of interesting. Like maybe the left politicizes it in terms of like, oh, it's always a bad thing to do that. It's offensive to try to code fantasy races based on like real life races, and then the right side would probably just try to say that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? So be curious to think about that. And then I have a question. Can you think of any examples from media, especially visual media, where you have made connections with fantasy races to real life races slash ethnicities, whether you were looking for connections or not? Any that jump out to you, Tommy, besides Transformers?
We already did Avatar in the photos,
Yeah.
so races. I'm just thinking. Uh, Gosh, it's Monday.
Happy Monday. No, it's not Monday, Tommy.
Happy.
It's Tuesday.
It is.
It is.
Oh, okay. Um,
It's okay. Maybe you
you
might think of
know,
some other ones.
I can't. My brain's mushed right now, so I can't. I'm sure it's there.
No, you're
Yeah, I
good.
can only think of that racist Next Generation episode. So,
I mean, that's fine to cite those. I guess like the trolls in Harry Potter have been sort of relevant lately because of the new game, so that's been coming up.
oh, I haven't played the new game.
Yeah, yeah, but like still people are talking about it on, so and not to cite this as like the the best place to discuss these things, but people have criticized Rowling for modeling the goblins after like Jewish stereotypes from like I think specifically from Nazi propaganda. Um, so like
Ah,
there's that. There's those kind of connections, but yeah. So and then we have this one. Tommy, can I have you read the quote? One more Lindsay Ellis quote.
what story? Oh yeah, what stories made by and for humans? There is always coding. With stories made by and for humans, there is always coding. Sorry.
Yes, and then would you like to comment on the picture at all?
Oh, that's an allegory because the pandas are different from the Bearstein Bears, and the kids are all cool with it, and the dad's being a racist over the panda bears.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the fact they're both bears, so that's kind of neat too.
Yeah,
Yeah, just by looking at this image, you assume that like Papa Bear's got some reservations about the new neighbors. Um, yeah, even though the rest of the family seems excited about them. I still haven't read this
yeah.
book. I don't think. Maybe I had it read to me when I was a child, but I do not remember it.
Mm,
Specifics that happen. I'm assuming he comes around, right?
I'd hope so. Otherwise, it'd be a very depressing book.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about jazz. Um, can I have you read the first two lines here?
Jazz is often recognized as being quoted as black/African American. Does this affect the way the audience feels about him as a character?
Yeah, so we think about like the first scene when he's introduced, he's got his classic lines while he's flipping around, and then also I did point out the scene after Bumblebee gets kidnapped by Sector 7. He is the one who's saying like, "Hey, we got to go save Bumblebee, Optimus. You keep talking about trying to get to the Allspark, but we got to prioritize saving our friend." So I'm just thinking like, does his coding as being black or African American um, have any effect on the audience? Does it make us see him a certain way? Um, Go ahead and signal me if this is too uncomfortable of a question.
No, I just completely forgot about his character completely.
You do know I'm referencing it all?
I know you're referencing the first movie, and you're giving me some flashbacks, but I don't remember like this character at all.
And it's cracking little bitches. My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz. This looks like a cool place to kick it.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I like to highlight these moments too.
Hang back. Let me check it out. Optimus. Are we just gonna stand here and do nothing? There's no way to free Bumblebee without harming the humans. But it's not right. Let them leave.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's clear they're trying to, yeah, I understand.
I'll speak to. Sorry, Tom. Do you want to go?
Yeah, you can speak.
I'll speak to when I taught this class. Like people brought up the fact that like sometimes the black side character in the team group or whatever is often seen as like the heart of the group or the emotional like anchor of the group, and we're kind of seeing that with Jazz. So I could see that. You see that in like the Power Rangers movie. Have you seen that yet? The 2017 Power
No.
Rangers. Oh, you haven't seen it too. It's great. I think you would like. I think you should see it. I think you would like that movie.
I saw half of it and thought it was boring, so I turned it
That's
off.
right. That's right. We were talking about it. And I did say if you don't like the first half, then yeah, just abandon all hope. I'm surprised you don't like that movie. But yeah, you definitely see that with the with Billy in that movie. And then what else do I want to bring up? And then just acknowledging the fact that like he's coded as black, but he's always played by a black actor too. So is it like? And then that just brings the question of like, yeah, he's coded as black, but like, what does it mean to be coded as white? So okay. And then I also want to bring up like what I call Jazz's credibility, I suppose. Do you want to read the first paragraph there?
Something that will be questioned media discussed in realism of a world being challenged and pressured by a rhetoric used by characters such as Jad, Skids, and Mudflap. Why would alien robots say that? Lindsay Ellis has Skids and Mudflap's banter.
Yeah, so sort of this reaction of like, how can there be a black robot? Why would they be talking like that? And then, like, I just want to raise the question of, but why would Optimus, Ironhide, and Ratchet's rhetoric typically go unchallenged when Jazz's rhetoric is scrutinized? Like Ironhide having the British accent and saying things like, I'm gonna kick their ass, and things like that. Like, that's just normal, I guess? Normal, quotation marks?
Sure, I mean, we don't live on Cybertron, we don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is why can't Jazz talk like he does, and then Ironhide talks like he does, and one gets scrutinized as like, that's not realistic for a robot to be talking like that. And then the other's like, yeah, it's normal.
Okay.
And then I also like to bring up this point too about Jazz, is that, you want to read the first paragraph there, Tommy?
Faces are the first thing people will respond to when seeing another person. That builds our initial understanding and impression of them.
And then, like, Jazz is the only Autobot that we see that does not get a real close-up shot of his face. The closest I could find is, like, when he gets knocked down during the climax when Megatron fires and it blows him back. You sort of get, like, a little close-up on his face, but even then he still has that visor on for most of the movie, so you, like, never really get a good look at Jazz's face. And, like, this image, after he does his initial introduction flip, is, like, the only decent shot we get of his face unmasked. And it's not even decent. It's like, I can barely see what that is or what his design is on his face. Where every other Autobot, like, okay, I kind of understand what their face looks like. And then what does this tell us about what 2007 values? And what does this tell us about how the 2007 movie values the Transformer who is recognized as having the strongest coded ethnic identity? Would you like to respond, Tommy, or move on?
Move on.
All right. I don't mind just posting these questions. And then, yes, let's finally deal with Skids and Mudflap. So, Tommy, you remember who Skids and Mudflap are, I assume?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. For those who don't remember, just a quick little, literally click anywhere randomly on this video. Got it.
I screwed that up. I'm okay. I'm alright. This is combat, man. Oh, brain freeze, man. What's wrong with you?
All right, Tommy. Now, can I have you read the first two paragraphs?
Now, what ethnicity are Skids and Mudflap making fun of? There are no wrong answers. Seriously, I've heard arguments that their designs are marking what kids are who are trying to imitate Black or Latino gang rhetoric. Yeah, that's SpongeBob making a Latino reference, making a Latino accent.
Yeah, one of them's Tom Kenny, and the other one is, oh god, it's not Reno Wilson. It's who plays like Brains in one of the other movies, or in 3 and 4. Oh my gosh, who is it? I'm forgetting right now. But one is a black actor and one is Tom Kenny, who's like the whitest looking voice actor of them all. Who does SpongeBob. So it's sort of, the casting there is kind of funny. And then how can this be offensive to a group of people if we can't all even agree on what group they are mocking? Is the confusion part of the offense? And my honest admission is I have no idea who these two are supposed to be making fun of. Because I've heard everything. I've heard they're making fun of black people, I've heard they're making fun of Latino people, I've heard they're making fun of white kids acting like black or Latino like stereotypes. My main concern with Skids and Mudflap are, though, that they're not even the Greek choir of the film. Like, typically with these characters, I would expect them to be like, oh, they're sad when Optimus dies, or they're happy when something goes right. No, they're just kind of like beating each other up the whole movie regardless of what's going on. There's like one moment in the film, it's actually this scene here that you can see in the thumbnail, when they get into a fight when like they think Sam has led them to their doom. So like that's the only time in the film they kind of act as like the Greek choir, but the rest of the movie they're just completely disconnected to anything that's going on. And it's kind of amazing how irrelevant they are. At least Jar Jar made friends with the Gungans for the Nabooians.
Ah, that's true.
He had some kind of story function. All right. And then let's define political commentary versus coding. Tommy, you want to read the first paragraph?
All right. When a text film political commentary is when a text film portrays an issue that is of historical or current political relevance, or at least in a thematic way, and is often a stance or solution on how the issue could/should see resolved. Do you want me to read the second paragraph?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You currently rely on commentary to be more international by filmmakers than coding. Coding is intentional by filmmakers than coding. Coding is then often because it is artists' inherent view of the world, though coding can also be approached in a self-aware way, like Warcraft, Zootopia, Bright.
Yeah. And then do you have any examples of political commentary in fictional media that you'd like to just list as examples?
Like, was Captain America the Winter Soldier about I can't even remember.
It's definitely political commentary. I would say.
Oh, Don't Look Up.
Huh?
Don't Look
Oh,
Up
yeah.
was about
Don't Look Up.
it was about the like environmental crisis.
Yeah. Global warming. Winter Soldier. I want to get a good. What's a good one for that? Winter
I know
Soldier
this one. I
could
know
be
this one.
about.
It was
It's not
about
quite censorship, but it's like. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a word for it. There was like the law that happened after 9/11.
The Patriot Act?
Yes, Patriot Act.
Is that what it? Yeah, I guess it is a Patriot Act movie. So it's like Dark Knight and stuff. So
Okay, we can write dark.
There's a lot of Hollywood films post 9/11 that are about 9/11. That are about post 9/11, honestly, more than the actual event. Winter Soldier, Dark Knight. Not a ton of. Trying to think of like there's a little bit of like the post 9/11 like Middle Eastern tensions in like the first 3 Transformers movies, but it's not like it's not the same thing as like the Patriot Act issue. Bad Boys 2 has that bizarre Bay has that bizarre story point about the sneak and peek warrant. That's a part of the Patriot Act.
All right.
So that's sort of I'll put Bad Boys 2 on there. Why not? Bad Boys 2, keep it director relevant. Yep. And then I just like to put this one here for fun, because I am a teacher. What's the communist Stalin book we all have to read in high school or junior high? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Animal Farm, baby.
Oh, okay.
Allegory for Stalin. Oh my gosh. Stalin's rise to power. All right. All right, that brings us to the greatest film of all time, Transformers: Age of Extinction. I guess Tommy, let's take a moment here to just sort of talk about when this movie came out. Like, when did you see it? How many times did you see it?
Yes, I remember this one. So it was June of 2014, and I just got back from theater camp. I did not have my phone for the whole week, so I think there was like a 3-day delay where like reviews were coming out, and I didn't have my phone to actually read them.
Wow.
And so the first thing I did when I turned on my phone is I went on Facebook and saw your review, and you was like, "Oh my goodness, great movie," and I'm like, "Oh, I guess Transformers finally got it right." And then I went home, got on YouTube, saw the reviews, and then I was like, "Bum, oh no."
Good old 17% right here.
Good old 17%. And then I saw it the next day in like 3D, and I thought that time when I saw it, I always thought it was really good. And and then I saw it a second time in 2D and still thought it was really good. But then I realized that's probably a 2014 movie. I was pretty much stupid back then.
And yeah, I guess we can talk about it a little bit later. I'm a little curious. I'm going to save your full-on opinion for the canon discussion. That's okay, but yeah, I'm glad you can recount what you thought. Okay, so that's funny, yeah, because I was hoping and wondering if you were going to say, once I finally got Surface back, I checked my phone and Greg sends like 14 texts about how amazing this movie was. But unfortunately, I didn't do that. I should have done it. Yeah, so I saw it opening night. Oh my God, there was a flashback showing the same time. The same night when I went to see this at the theater, and some of our theater friends were there, and they were seeing the flashback movie. They were seeing Starship Troopers, and like I was like, I should go see Starship Troopers because obviously that's just a one night thing, and this is a this will just be in theaters. But I went, and then they kind of like they lightly teased me. They didn't like give me too much guff about it. They were just being funny. And then I guess I felt it too. I was like, I'm really gonna go see Transformers over Starship Troopers. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then I did, and then I was just it was quite a euphoric experience. What's the other one that I shouldn't say? It was a moment of ecstasy where I was watching a Transformers movie that wasn't absolute dog shit terrible. And I still believe that, and I still love this movie, and it's my favorite movie. I think it is. Like, in terms of a movie I can just sit down and watch, I'm still happy to do that almost any day. There are other movies that I am more excited by, mostly because I haven't seen them as many times, and also they're just not, a big, dumb blockbuster movie. But I'm still pretty impressed with this movie. I have found things to love about it even more. I really haven't found much to be like, oh, I dislike the movie. I dislike this about the movie more now than I did back then. Not a ton of stuff has aged poorly for me. I guess like it's aged poorly, but in the sense of like I understand what this franchise is and this director is. So I'm sorry, I'm getting into my current opinions. I shouldn't do that. But no, yeah. So when it came out, I was like, this is the best movie ever. Saw it 4 times. Was very happy with it because I just hated the first 3 films up to that point. I still, Transformers 2 I didn't hate, I think, but 1 and 3 I definitely hated with a passion. And I wanted this franchise to do well. And so I was finally happy with one of these movies. And yeah, so got a Blu-ray day one, watched it a million times. I've seen this maybe more than any other movie. But yeah, let's get into it. And then whoops, sorry, we gotta acknowledge this one thing. Tommy, can I have you read the plot synopsis at the very bottom there? I'm very proud of this.
Okay, with Michaela still missing and Sam hopefully dead, Optimus Prime must find new human allies as a young adult aspiring to go to college. Enter Mechanic DeFather to defend the remaining Autobots and himself from an elite U.S. human Black Ops squad, a Transformer bounty hunter, and a rising army of human-made Transformers.
Yeah, quite the threat building here. And then, so for this discussion, we're not really going to talk about coding all too much, but we're going to talk about the different perspectives of oppression and how that can affect groups. And obviously, oppression can take any form against any kind of people. I'm taking the race angle because of how specifically some elements of the story work. But you could probably look at it through, oppression of people based on gender, or other things like that, but just the race angle is the one I'm going to be focusing on for this. So we're going to be looking specifically at these 4 characters, focusing on them. Got Optimus Prime, Lockdown, Tessa Yeager, Mark Wahlberg's daughter in the film, and then Harold Attinger, played by Kelsey Grammer, everybody's favorite character.
Absolutely.
But before we do that, Tommy, can we define what oppression is, and what forms it takes, and what motivates it?
Oppression is the act in which people in higher up positions try to belittle / take down people of perceived lower positions.
Or status, maybe?
Status, yeah.
Status or positions?
Status.
Okay. And then what form's going to take?
An HR representative saying it's okay to be gay, you just can't act gay while at work, and then firing that person before their 2 weeks notice after they gave 2 weeks notice.
Trying to think how to put that. HR. I want to say like HR systemic abuse, but that doesn't totally sound right.
Yeah, it is. That's fine.
Okay. I have no problem with what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out how to word that in a list way. HR systemic abuse.
Or you can say corporate systemic abuse.
Okay. Corporate. Systemic abuse or corruption, maybe. And then can I just add like violence? Segregation. cultural theft. Any others? There's tons of others, but just for our short list here.
No, I don't. I can't think of any.
What do you think motivates oppression?
White privilege.
Yeah, we can put that down.
Oh, just privilege in
Just
general.
privilege in general, yeah. I'd say privilege. Wanting to maintain a status.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just do a make that definition kind of. All right. Anything else?
No, it could be political based.
Political. Was it bias? Oh my gosh, I forgot how to spell. Biases. That's how they spell the word. All right. And then I've defined the 4 P's of oppression that we're going to be looking at. The idea here is just like there's 4 different roles you could take when oppression's happening. And you want to read the first one for me?
The persecuted, the one who is the target of oppression.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. The persecutor, Tommy?
The one who is targeting the persecuted with a form of oppression, violence, imprisonment, segregation, cultural theft, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, the other stuff we listed too. The passive, the one who's in a position where they can choose to support the persecuted or the persecutor. They still end up supporting one party if they decide to do nothing, stay passive. The profiteer, the one who takes advantage of an oppressive situation so they can benefit themselves, typically financially. So maybe you can think of like mercenaries during times of war. And then characters can fall under multiple P's, but let's try to think of which P our 4 characters of focus specifically fall under. So like, let's not try to overlap them right now. Just like this one lines with this one lines with this. Very linear look. All right, let's take a look at Tessa Yeager. So just some general questions, Tom, after watching the movie again. What does she want? What is she worried about? More at the start of the film, but yeah. You can talk about general.
She wants to go to college.
Wants to go to college, yep.
College is good. She wants to be with her boyfriend. Who wouldn't? He's hot.
And then, what is she worried about?
Her dad's well-being.
Mm-hmm. And what about these 2 things? Are there conflicts in the way of college or boyfriend?
Well, yeah, her dad.
Her dad's approval for her boyfriend. And then what about the college thing? Where does that come up?
Well, yeah, she needs money or like financial aid or to get like
needs tuition money. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good,
yeah.
Tommy. And then how about the Kelsey Grammer character, Harold Attinger? What are his goals?
Take out the Transformers.
Take out the Transformers on a date?
No, I mean take out the Transformers, like kill the Transformers or.
Okay. What else?
I don't know. He's kind of one note, so I don't know what else he wants.
What does he talk about with Stanley Tucci's character sometimes?
Oh yeah, make that money.
Yeah, maybe make some money off his deal with Tucci. And then why does he think his goal is necessary?
Because money is good and Transformers keep blowing up stuff, so.
Yep, that's good. And then looking at Lockdown, the Autobot Ratchet, the one who explains that Sam wants to mate with Michaela in 2007, is being hunted down by a pack of Black Ops goons, by a Black Ops group called Cemetery Wind. But in Harold's first clip, he said the Autobots are being given sanctuary. What's Harold hiding? So just remember, like, he tells those guys in the weird CIA meeting room We're taking out the Decepticons with the Autobots are being given sanctuary, but then we just cut to the scene of Cemetery when and Lockdown hunting down Ratchet, who's an Autobot, and then Lockdown shows up towards the end of the first clip. Blah blah blah. He's the one who shoots Ratchet from a long distance. It's explained later in the film that he's a bounty hunter. What does he say he's looking for? Who does he say he's looking for specifically? Does he align with Autobot or Decepticon, or is that a trick question?
So you're asking me like, what does
Who's he looking for? Let's just get that one out of the way.
who's
he
Ratchet looking
specifically
for?
Yeah, which Autobot is he specifically looking for?
Optimus Prime, I would assume.
Yeah, he says, he takes down Ratchet and asks where's Optimus Prime, so that's what he's looking for specifically. And then I was gonna ask, but who does he align with, Autobot or Decepticon, or am I asking a trick question?
Who's Ratchet aligned with, or who's
No,
Lockdown? Like,
Lockdown.
I think Lockdown's just his own thing.
Yep, it's a trick cue. How does he describe his relationship to the Autobot Decepticon war? Do you remember that part? How does his description position him in terms of his power over the bots and cons? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember. I remember there's a scene early in the movie that's like the whole Lockdown is explaining who he is, and then it's like, okay.
Lockdown. Autobots, Decepticons, like little children, always fighting, making a mess out of the universe. Then I've got to clean it up. There is one way you survive.
Gotcha.
Tell me where he...
Yeah, he just kind of is sick of the war. He just wants to like say, okay, I gotta take care of this now. It's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very dismissive of their conflict.
He's politically indifferent.
Good. And then another Herald clip. He's talking to the CIA director, I think, or they're briefing the chief of staff on why the Autobots must be removed as soon as possible. What are Herald's arguments for why the Autobots should not be allowed to live on Earth or in America? Tommy, you kind of already referenced it.
Because they keep blowing up stuff. It's 3 movies and stuff keeps getting blown up. People are dying. They need to be out of here.
Yeah, there's that, and then also just he even just says like they're here illegally, and then interestingly, when I did this class a while ago, someone brought up the fact that they're not even technically here illegally because there's no way for them to be here legally because there's no way for them to become U.S. citizens. So that was kind of interesting. So I guess there's some law that states that you can't be considered an illegal immigrant or an illegal alien unless there's some way you can legally become a citizen of the country. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh.
And then another Tessa clip. Tessa's father, Cade, has discovered the used truck he brought home is Optimus Prime. What is Tessa's reaction to this discovery? How does she feel about Transformers? Why does she want to turn the truck in? What would her and her father gain?
The money.
Get some money. She really doesn't seem to care that, or just doesn't seem aware that this is a living thing. She's also scared, initially, like, you got to get that thing out of here.
Yeah.
All right. And then when Optimus wakes up in the film, what is he first concerned about? What conflict is he facing?
Oh, he's concerned about his Autobots, of course.
Mm-hmm. And then, but is there a difference in how Prime's acting or his concerns in this film compared to the other films? Think back to what we talked about, his reaction to Jazz's death, the way the third film has no comment about Ironhide's death. Is there a difference going on here?
He seems more concerned this time around, but that could be just because humans aren't helping him out, trying to kill him.
That was the first thing that struck me when I saw the movie, was like, Optimus cares about his Autobots for once? I've never seen that in these movies. It's just nobody reacts to the deaths of the Autobots in the other movies. It's insane. It's like just people just die and then the movies just go on. So that definitely stuck out to me the first time I saw it. Something I really appreciated the first time I saw the movie. And then Thinking about when Cade's hiding Optimus and the Black Ops goons are trying to force the humans to reveal Optimus' location, how does Optimus respond to this threat to his new human allies? So, the scene where the Black Ops guys are pointing a gun at Mark Wahlberg's daughter's head, at Tessa's head.
Oh yes, the big. We gotta find. Oh, I don't want to say. The World War II scene. Yes.
Yeah, and then we got that. Oops.
I was wrong.
Yeah, it's Holocaust imagery for sure. The Optimus under the floorboards.
I mean, this whole movie kind of feels like a Holocaust allegory to me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, the whole thing does. I mean, maybe it is more strongly that, and I'm just not as versed in the history, but you'll see what I mean later on. But definitely, yeah, there's imagery there. Maybe the KSI thing is Holocaust related. I guess I don't know. I should probably do more of that research, but I definitely was connecting it more to a contemporary issue also, or not really contemporary, but different issue. But we'll take a look at it. You can let me know if there's anything relevant to the Holocaust discussion too. But definitely there. Like there's no dispute. That's what Bay's evoking. All right, and then we'll get into it now. The metal body's exploitation and appropriation. The engineer, inventor, tech company CEO Joshua Joyce, the Stanley Tucci character, has found a way to create Transformers. How does Joshua making his own Transformers relate to the concept of cultural appropriation? What are Joshua and Harold causing to happen with their combined efforts/actions in a political sense?
Well, I just thought this was a Holocaust allegory on how, Nazis were like experimenting on Jews to work on vaccines.
Okay.
And so this was the modern day appropriation of that, where they're working on Transformers to make new technology for profiteering.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
You could also say.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk.
No, go ahead and finish if you want to.
No, I have nothing to say, so go for it.
Okay. I was also just thinking, stealing, like complete cultural theft. I mean, that's I think what you're referencing, and that's totally relevant to what you're referencing. I'm just saying. I also just thinking too about cultural theft in terms of like modern day appropriation of like Black and Asian culture specifically. And Latino culture faces it too, of just like taking things from their identity and saying we're going to use this now because we want to have control over it. In terms of what you're referencing with the experimenting on Jewish people, I think that I sort of see that more as just like completely dehumanizing their bodies to like their own desires, which is definitely part of this. I'm just saying, like, specifically, they're taking something from their identities that they think is cool, and they're gonna, use it for their own means. Which is why, like, you have imagery like this of him playing around with the Transformium tech. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But I definitely think both are applicable. But I've always thought about it as like sort of a more contemporary issue too. But I'm glad you're bringing up the Holocaust part too, because that's definitely important. And then Harold discusses his business plans with Joshua. What do we learn in this scene from Joshua about what Harold is getting out of his efforts to achieve his goal that was established in the first clip? What personal benefits is he getting out of the extermination and appropriation of Transformers?
All right, so... Yep, Kelsey Grammer's getting money, because that's what he really wants. He wants his money, and then he wants some gosh darn peace and quiet with getting the Transformers out of here.
That's fair. And then when Optimus confronts his persecutors, or is he confronting his profiteer? The Autobots are about to conduct a raid on the KSI lab, the place where they're making the Transformer drones. So just as a reminder to people, they're killing all of the organic Transformers, let's say, the ones from space. So, the Autobots, the Decepticons, and then harnessing their bodies to make that Transformium stuff so they can make their own, like, Transformer drones, essentially, that they control. What is Optimus enraged about? Think about the personal losses. Think about the identity politics. Then I also just wanted to call back to, like, Optimus's reaction to Ratchet dying is very prominent here. It's not just, like, again, the other movies, Autobots died, nobody cares. Optimus is very angry that Ratchet's killed in this scene, which is interesting. So, what do you think? Just to spell it out, why is Optimus so upset?
Because Stanley Tucci's profiteering from their suffering.
Yeah, or even just that he's killing them in general, right? I mean, I'm not even sure if he's upset about the fact that he's making money. He's just upset that you killed my friends.
Mhm.
They're not your property. We're not your technology. All that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And then we have this scene where it's the highway chase right after the KSI raid, and Galvatron starts killing passing by cars with human civilians inside, and then how's Harold reacting to those deaths of people he's supposedly be trying to protect?
He didn't care.
Yep, he's like, hey, casualties are normal. It's whatever. Just keep going.
Mhm.
And remember, this is the guy who said we got to make America safe again.
Yeah. Wow, a Trump allegory before he was even announced to be president.
So amazing. And then we have the Optimus versus Galvatron scene, a human-made transformer. When Optimus faces off against the main synthetic transformer, Galvatron, he says the line, shown in the GIF below, "You have no soul." Optimus is expressing his disdain for this human creation with this line. Why is Galvatron's existence so disturbing to him? What has Joshua created with Galvatron from an organic Transformers perspective? So this is where I think the strongest element of the whole specific appropriation is relevant. Thoughts, Tommy?
Nope.
Why is come on, you can't. Why is Galvatron's existence so disturbing to him?
Because he was human made.
Because he's human made, and yeah, what's like Optimus essentially fighting?
He's fighting something that isn't organic to him.
He's essentially fighting Transformers blackface.
Oh, okay.
That's how I take it.
I didn't think of that, but okay.
He's like, you think you can create us? Like, you think that's who we are? And then he specifically says the line, "You have no soul."
Oh yeah.
I love it, Tommy.
Or stabbing him in his.
So great.
Oh, okay. So great.
And then, was this visual effect supposed to be lame? Most Transformers fans. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you read some of this. Why don't you read the first half?
Most Transformers movies hated the synthetic Transformers visual effects.
The fans.
It was criticized for being fans. Yes.
Yes.
It was created for being a cheaper way of doing the Transformers animation. But keep in mind, it's only the synthetic Transformers who do this in the film. Optimus, Lockdown, and the other non-synth bots transform normally in Age of Extinction. So how can we read this as a synthetic choice?
If Optimus was repulsed by these robots existing, and the fans saw this as a cheap knockoff of the real Transformers, then could the lamer-looking effects be read as a way to distinguish between the real bots and the synth bots? What effect does this have on an audience? How does it make us feel about the synth bots? And then I got this gif of Bumblebee saying it's a cheap knockoff, or I hate cheap knockoffs.
It's a good way from telling the good guys from the bad guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's that, and then also just like you go, oh, those ones just do that? That's so lame. Those aren't the real Transformers.
Oh, okay.
And then usually when I do this in a class format, I have the class take a survey and like select who's who for the P's of oppression. But we can just go through them obviously because it's just the two of us. So Optimus, Tommy, persecuted, persecutor, profiteer, or passive.
Persecuted.
Persecuted. Tessa, persecuted. Sorry, we did persecuted. Persecutor, profiteer, or passive.
Passive?
Yeah, I think it's just a passive because she's like she could help or she could step away and not be hurt. Lockdown, profiteer, or persecutor.
Choose persecutor?
Yeah, I think that it gets it can be a little. Yeah, let's go with persecutor. That's fine. And then Kelsey Grammer, that's his name, and that leaves him as the profiteer, right?
I guess, but so is Stanley Tucci, so...
Yeah. But these were our four mains, right? I just put these guys on.
Oh, okay, got it. So
we just have to separate these four. Wahlberg, what do you think?
I mean, he's persecuted for sure, but he's not passive. He's not.
Why isn't he passive? He
becomes actually helping. So
he becomes a persecutor, right? And then, but before that, he could be a passive, right?
Yeah.
So my idea with the whole passive and persecuted thing is that a persecuted has no choice. Like Optimus can't choose to step away from the conflict. Like he's a target regardless. Tessa and I think Mark Wahlberg could. They could just walk away and say like, "Here's Optimus Prime, leave us alone."
Okay, so he's passive.
Yeah, I think they're. I would argue that both the main human characters are passive. And then Tucci.
Profiteer.
Yeah, and then I think like I want to say Lockdown's a profiteer too, which I think either way it's fine. But I like to argue that Lockdown's a profiteer because of the money, because literally he's a bounty hunter. We assume getting some kind of payment for what he's doing.
Oh, okay. So we could probably switch those two then.
You could switch them, but
and
I also think it works either way because obviously Kelsey Grammer's also making money. But like that's why I think they're kind of interchangeable. Part of my argument is that those two things are interchangeable, but some people might not think of them as interchangeable. But I don't think persecuted and passive are. Like you can become a persecuted by when you start out as a passive, but I don't think like a persecuted can ever stop being and become a passive, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like if they were giving Optimus the chance to just leave Earth, then he could be a passive. But like the fact that it's just like, no, we're just gonna kill him regardless, or we're trying to just get rid of him regardless of what they choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then that brings us to the Dinobot charge, the final, the first of like 3 climaxes of the film. Optimus is trying to convince a group of. I'm sorry, Tommy, I'll allow you to read. You want to read the slide?
Sure.
All right,
Optimus is trying to convince a group of ancient Transformers to join the Autobots in the battle against the synthetic Transformers. Thematically, what is this battle really about? Is Optimus trying to prove something to humanity himself? The Autobots? Spoiler, they win this battle against the Simsbots. What is this film saying about the Autobots and ancient Transformers versus the human ones? Think about how Optimus speaks to Galvatron.
Yeah, and the gifts scene I was referencing. What do you think, Tommy?
Oh, that's the scene where Optimus Prime's like, join us or die, and we'll get on the dinosaurs and kill the human. I didn't really think about this scene that much. I just thought it was like the final little battle cry before going to battle, like in Braveheart. They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Oh, is that what that's from?
That's from Braveheart, yeah.
I didn't know that. Still haven't seen it. Too long. One movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah, so
it's only 15 extra minutes.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying though?
Oh yes, yeah.
Just that the idea is like all the real Transformers are gonna go kick the ass of these blackface fake Transformers.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And then final moments from the film. It's like 10 minutes long. Optimus just ran off to face Lockdown on his own, ordering Bumblebee to get his human allies to safety. Some critical questions, though. What gets... we're going to tackle these one at a time. What gets Tessa to go back into the fight to save Optimus?
Her dad.
Her dad. How is Harold trying to sell his Crusade to Cade? Should we take him at his word? So, like, that last scene where he's pointing a gun at... is right before he dies. Right before Kelsey Grammer dies.
It's either you join us or you join them, and then it's an us or them thing.
Mm-hmm. And then, do we think that's true at this point, or is there another motivation we think about with Kelsey Grammer at this point that's sort of overshadowing that one?
I can't think of any. Like, why are you joining? Like, you gotta join ours. Yeah, oh god, I know, but I don't want to say.
Okay. And then how is Lockdown trying to talk his enemies down?
I don't remember.
It's okay. I'll play a little bit of it. Is it not? Come on. We are sponsored by Old Spice now. They have to send us money.
That's great.
You save the human instead of saving yourself. You bring shame upon us all.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Play one more.
This is my fight! It's my fight! And you're all gonna die.
Thoughts?
I wish my Paramount Plus version was formatted for IMAX.
You can only watch that with the 3D Blu-ray, which is funny.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm kind of happy because honestly, after the last night, I need if my best Transformers movie, I want it to be properly formatted the whole time. Anyways,
No, it's an us versus them, motivation for both scenes.
oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely see that connection. I also focus on the fact that like he's more like belittling everybody that
hmm
that he's fighting. He shows no respect. He's saying, this is my fight. Like, I own this situation. I own what happens to you guys, and that sort of ties into me with his whole the way he talks about the Autobot Decepticon wars. He's very demeaning towards it. And he's very like this, your little conflict doesn't matter. Like I'm the one who understands how the real universe works. Sort of taking their agency away, which I find very interesting. But yeah, for sure, there's still that whole us versus them thing going on there too. And then how's Optimus responding to Tessa and Kate's help throughout this scene?
Was he really responding?
Yeah, he's saying, it's my favorite line, dude.
Kate, get out of here! This is my fight!
Does that make sense?
Nice. Cares about Cade's safety.
Yeah, I think this one of the more interesting things to me is that like Optimus is very protective of them the whole movie and doesn't want them to get hurt. We see that earlier too, with just the way he reveals his hiding spot in the first action scene that's an hour into the movie of him taking on the Black Ops guys when they're at the farm still, when they're at the Texas farm. All right, and then a couple more slides, and then we can just talk like normal human beings. Does it matter if Tessa is only saving Optimus so that he can save her dad? So that she can save her dad, sorry. Does this make her a hero to an oppressed group, a persecuted, marginalized group? What do you think, Tommy?
I mean, does it matter? I mean, I guess not.
Does Harold really believe he is making America safe again? How is he really benefiting from completing this purge on the Autobots and anyone who supports their mission?
I don't think he really. I mean, he's just kind of a generic bad guy to me, but Kelsey Grammer plays him well. But yeah, does he really believe it? I don't think so.
What type of psychology is Lockdown trying to use in order to talk down its opponents based on this dialogue? Who is valuable in the universe from his perspective? We already kind of talked about this, but if you want to add anything to it.
No, it's us versus them. That's what he's doing. That's what he's trying to
do. I'm still standing by my point, but yeah, that's fair too. Is Optimus heroic for trying to encourage his human allies to abandon him, to save themselves? Think back to thinking more thematically and in relation to the world. Oh my god, to the real world subtext here, when Optimus says, "Get out of here, this is my fight," is this really just his fight? So like, what would Optimus be doing if he didn't accept help?
He'd probably be dead, and he's no good dead, so yeah, it's not really heroic for him to encourage. I mean, it's heroic in altruistic ways, but
on a micro level.
On a micro level, yes, but I mean, Mark Wahlberg had the cool alien gun, so he was very much useful in that moment.
Yeah. And then the morality and motivation continued. Many film discourses are working to define the white savior trope as to avoid it whenever possible. What does Age of Extinction have to say in regards to its use of the white savior trope? Tessa and her father saving the Autobots from Harold and Lockdown's oppressive actions. Is the film critical of Tessa and her father's role in fighting to protect and save the Autobots? And how does Optimus respond to their help in the early clips of the climax? Any responses to those, Tommy?
Well, no, it's like we need human characters. We need them to be a heroic in some kind because that's what will connect a human audience because Autobots aren't buying tickets to this movie. But at the same time, it's like you come for the Autobots. So why he's saying that is so like, come on, guys. They really paid to see the Autobots here. But because Yeah,
go ahead.
because the Paramount it's a mix. It's trying to have its cake and eat it too, where it could say, "Hey, we really want robots fighting, but we need humans fighting too."
Hey, we went through the first and third movie without a heroic character, or a heroic human character. So, I mean, I guess we had one with like Michaela maybe, but in terms of
Oh,
Sam doing
definitely.
anything, in terms of Sam,
Yeah.
she didn't do anything in that first and third film.
Of course.
He killed McDreamy, who's in League with the Decepticons.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, do you think Age of Extinction's saying anything about what persecuted groups are willing to do for people from passive groups who have helped them?
I guess they want to be heroes. I don't know.
So what is it saying about the persecuted groups helping the passive groups who step in to help them? Like if people being oppressed are offered help by people with privilege, what's the response in Age of Extinction?
No,
So
don't do that. That's the response. No, we don't need your help. This is our fight. You know.
I would spin it and say that they're concerned about their safety as well, which is what I find really powerful about the movie. Honestly, is that there's so much tension of like in the real world of just like, well, I don't want to help because I don't want to endanger myself or my family, but Age of Extinction showing a situation where they want to help you. They don't want to just like, meaning the persecuted groups want to help the privileged groups too, in terms of if they do stick their neck out for them, they want to protect them as well. It's not just like they're just gonna abuse. They're not just gonna abuse the privilege for their power and just take them away. I'm not saying that'll always happen, but I'm just saying it's nice to see a movie that addresses that issue in this way, because too often I think we just think of it as like, well, I don't want to get involved because it's danger to my status. In Age of Extinction saying, hey, sometimes it is worth the help, and you're not going to be alone if you do.
All right.
It means a lot to me.
Okay.
All right, let's ruin the movie. Michael Bay still hates me. Continuing with auteur theory. Tommy, you want to read the paragraphs?
For Greg, Bay has created the best, most badass blockbuster of all time, Suck It Fury Road, and it's really just a 2-hour, 50-minute epic. Then he inserted 30 extra minutes of extra bullshit into it just so people would hate it. You know what? Yeah, that's fair. That's a great perspective. Personally, Greg does not care. If you watch the movie thinking it was some white guy's version of CRT, of a CRT masterpiece, I mean, that in a good way, you may still find some disturbing bumps along the road.
So we got our classic moments of the Romeo and Juliet law, the my face
Not
is my
relevant.
warrant. What?
Oh,
Yes.
Not relevant, because the age of consent is in 17 in Texas, which is what Tessa Yeager's age was. So I don't know why Bay is bringing it up here.
To make the audience uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then, of course, the classic, they're ruining everything line. It's so funny. No, they're ruining everything. Beautiful. And then, yeah, I'll just go on to this real quick. You want to read first 3 paragraphs here?
There is enough evidence in interviews and extras and some of the lazier aspects of the production itself, with the exception of the unbelievable runtime, that can persuade viewers to believe director Michael Bay does not care about making this film. But that should that influence how you feel about this film personally? What if the director of your favorite film said it was crap in an interview? Would you care? Kind of.
It's also possible Bay wasn't thinking about racial oppression and persecution. Actually, hold on, before we get to that, let's do you have any responses to this besides kind of?
I mean, if Rolanti said I didn't really like Making Love, Simon, I'd be a little offended.
That's fair. Another Transformers film.
Oh yes, another Transformers film, a better Transformers film.
It's also possible Bay wasn't thinking about racial oppression and persecution with any specific group. The creation of the synthetic Transformers evokes themes of cultural theft that have victimized Black and Asian cultures, but also Tommy did bring up that also mirrors a lot of the Holocaust history too, so that's interesting. But then Bay also calls upon the Holocaust when images of the Holocaust when Optimus is hiding under the floorboards of the Jaeger's barn. Does that matter, though? Does Bay's intent matter?
Not really.
Can we just take the film as is? All right, that's all my presentation stuff. Tommy, how bad is this film really?
It's pretty good.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was curious you coming back to this, especially like you've seen well, okay, you watched it like when it was new on Blu-ray. When was the last time you had seen this?
When's the last time I'd seen this?
Yeah,
As in watched it like from beginning to end?
sure. Yeah.
That may have been with my nephews years ago. I haven't seen it in a while from beginning to end, if I'm being honest. And so I kind of watched it remembering having the fondest feelings of it. And really, it's like, okay, Mark Wahlberg and his whole family is like probably the best part of this movie, for sure. I can get down with them. I like Stanley Tucci. I like Kelsey Grammer. I think all the human stuff is actually okay. And the visual effects are like great as always. There's like actually some bombastic action scenes, but it's way too bloated. Way too bloated. Like, I think a better director could have like made this way tighter and could have made it a vast improvement over this movie than what Michael Bay can do, because he just can't keep it simple. He has to make this as bloated and as ridiculous as humanly possible, which is why I would give it like an 8 out of 10 this time around as opposed to the 9 out of 10 I gave it when I initially saw it in theaters. So it's still pretty good, but I think I might like Revenge of the Fallen better, because that one is at least a little bit more ridiculous in a fun way.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and I've been getting that reaction a lot, which I can respect, that Revenge of the Fallen seems to be more popular now. And even then, like, this film, I don't know. I've always been suspicious about the reaction to this movie. Just, I can't believe some people say that this is the worst one. Even after the fifth one, like, most people still think the fifth one's better, which, like, I can kind of see that a little bit just with, like, it's more stupid and fun. Like, it has more stupid insanity to it. Like, I kind of get that, but just the fact that nobody is willing to accept, or at least so many people aren't willing to accept, that this is the best told of the movies, like the best, most coherent story, most coherent characters. I just can't fathom that at all. Like, this is clearly the best storytelling that this franchise has, of the Bay movies at the very least. Yeah.
I was just gonna say fair.
Yeah, like I'm still in like awe that this got. I'm not totally like, I feel like a lot of it was just like fatigue. It was just like, oh, I don't want another Transformers movie. This one didn't have enough gimmicks or enough craziness. Which is funny that you say like it's the most bloated one. To me, this has always felt the most restrained one, which is funny because it's the longest one. But it's the one that has the least excess of stuff that I just can't. That it irritate me. Like, again, I've come to embrace the first three movies for their insanity, so I don't really care anymore. But like, to me, I watched this movie and I'm like, this is like a normal movie. like the story is coherent, the characters aren't nonsensical, the motivations aren't confusing. Like, I understand everything that's going on from start to finish. And that's part of why I appreciate it. What's funny is, if there was another film as good as this, like on a technical level in the franchise, I probably would like this film less than I do now. But the fact that this is the only one of the movies that like makes narrative sense to me, like on a normal level, like I like it for that, which I don't know why that makes it my favorite one. I think I just like all of the thematic stuff we just went through about like the oppression and the cultural appropriation stuff. Like, I think all that's very interesting, and I'm gonna quote there was a TV spot that said a long time ago, or sorry, when the movie came out, like, Transformers is provocative and mind blowing, like quoting some critic, and I'm like, yeah, I still kind of feel that. I still feel like I'm seeing some shocking stuff in this that I can't believe is in a movie where, like, this feels like the effect that, like, Marvel movies are always trying to have on me, of like Black Panther or Winter Soldier, where I'm supposed to go, wow, this is so politically relevant. I'm like, I don't know if this isn't exactly the best take on it. It's just, I'm shocked to see this franchise go in the places that it did, in a constructive way. Like the third film went to places that were just shocking and stupid and amazing, because I couldn't believe how tasteless it was being. Where here I'm like, it's being pretty tasteful about this stuff, and I think it's having a really smart perspective on it, and a very maybe not smart, but very concrete. Like, a lot of the Marvel films to me constantly feel like it's is virtue signaling the right word? Like, it feels like it's just saying, hey, we're talking about a politically relevant issue, and we're on your side, but it just feels so hollow at the end of the day, and it feels like they're always backstepping and like trying to say like, oh, but we're not actually going to go that strong into it because we don't want to offend either side. Where this, it's like, I can't say it's calling out either side. Like I think Republicans will watch this and probably think about it in a certain way compared to how like a liberal would watch this and think about it a certain way. But I guess I just appreciate this perspective more than any Marvel film's perspective, so I'm more into it than any Marvel film, obviously. I just feel like this film actually takes a stance against something, which is sort of interesting, but maybe not as much as I'm giving it credit for. I just feel like it feels relevant to me, but maybe not to everybody else.
Ah. Okay.
I did not think I would ever see a Michael Bay Transformers movie where you have Optimus enraged about the slaughter of his friends. He charges into the lab where it's happening, threatens to hurt them, and then realizes himself like, okay, I'm not helping the situation. I'm gonna walk away from this. Like that's my favorite scene. I don't know, maybe in any movie. Like I was just like floored when that happened. I think I mean that in a good way, right? When I saw that the first time in the theater, I was like, he's not just gonna shoot him, because just think about the last movie where he's just shooting everyone left and right that he disagrees with. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I love this.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love this film. I think it's powerful for me. I think it's fun for the most part. Yeah, there's some stuff where you're just like, why is this in here? He's just doing this to troll. But that's maybe that adds to the charm. I don't know. You can't get a beat on this guy. You cannot get a beat on. I was watching. Have you seen Richard Jewell? The Clint Eastwood movie.
Yes, I have.
I was watching that yesterday, and then I like asked my dad, like, do you think Michael Bay is ever gonna make a movie like this? Like it's just a straightforward drama, like he's gonna calm down eventually and be able to do that? And then my dad's response was, and he takes Bay seriously, so he's not like he's not dismissing the question. He just meant like, I just don't know what he's interested in. Like Clint Eastwood obviously has clear interests with a film like Richard Jewell. What does Michael Bay want to make a drama about?
Yeah.
And to me, this is part of this actually is Bay sort of like he's inserting his interests into this franchise that he just does not care about. But I think I think on its own, I still think it's an interesting Transformers story. Like this is the first time in the franchise where I feel like the Transformers stuff is actually helping tell the story. It's not just the thing he was it's not just the brand he was settled with and has to work around to do whatever he's gonna do for 2.5 hours.
Okay. It's the second best Transformers movie so far.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think we're going to get some films surpassing it for you. We won't get one surpassing for me at this point. 3 and 4 are kind of neck and neck for me because 3 is just ironically funny to me, and this one's genuinely good, in my opinion. Where 2 has a good emotional core, but I just think everything else about the film is really just a mess. And some of it in a fun way, but not totally. So yeah, for me, it's like this is the best one. One's an interesting failure. 2 is a shocking. 2 shocks me with its emotional value, and then 3 is just like what? 3 is Freddy got fingered.
Hey man, Rise of the Beast could surpass it. You never know.
No. I like how the closer we're getting to it, the more I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be so bad.
Could be good.
It could be technically better than this. It could be a technically better Transformers movie than this is. I just don't think it's gonna be a more interesting movie than this.
Probably not.
Yeah, I just don't think they're gonna have the political bite that this movie has.
I'm not even sure what the movie's actually about, so...
This film or Rise of the Beasts?
Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really telling us. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I just hope it's just like the cartoon, because I don't know how else to have an opinion other than, is it like the old thing?
I never even saw the cartoon, so...
I'm playing a character.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't know what we're doing for the next film because, boy, is it a joyride? Is that the term
Oh.
we use?
I think we could. Oh, fudge! I don't even know either.
Shh. But please join us next time for whatever mess that becomes.
Oh, we'll just get drunk and talk about it. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, I'll do a drunk show.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody, see you next time for the last night. Theory of Focus is question mark. Bye.
Bye.